Hey everybody, welcome back to Travel Trailer Nation. What's cheaper, a regular vacation or an RV vacation? Okay, so you've probably heard about the studies done that compare RV vacations to a non-RV vacation. A 2023 study sponsored by the RVIA analyzed vacation costs using two sets of hypothetical travel groups: a four-person travel party with two adults and two children, and a two-person travel party of two adults, and then they compared that across all the RV types. Now, this study kind of cherry-picked where they were going because they picked the very least costly option when they did their Orlando trip, using a pop-up camper as the RV of choice. Well, pop-ups are lighter than a regular travel trailer, so gas efficiency is going to be a lot better. Pop-ups do not make up the majority of towables that are on the road. First, it's travel trailers, and then secondly, it's fifth wheels, and then everything else falls out under that, with them making up a pretty small portion of towable trailers. Well, so what did the study find out? Well, their study concluded that a family of four taking a 7-day vacation from Atlanta, Georgia to Orlando, Florida would spend $3,216 for the road trip in a family car and staying at hotels and motels. The same vacation in a folding camper trailer would cost $1,712. That's a 47% savings. Well, I decided I was going to push my pen around and see what I could come up with to see if those results are realistic or not. So I did my own computation based on trips that we've taken from Wisconsin to Orlando in the past, and I plugged in the numbers. So let me tell you how I calculated this, and I may throw it up on the screen. I used only two people in my scenarios. I didn't use resort campgrounds during the trip or while in Orlando. And I calculated my diesel to be, for the round trip of 2,600 miles, at $3.25 a gallon, which I felt was pretty reasonable given the current situation. I budgeted $400 for the week's worth of groceries, and the total of my trip came to $2,070. For the folks not using an RV, my first scenario, I used flights to Orlando, a rental car, a 3-star hotel that served a continental breakfast to save a little bit on meals, and then every other meal I calculated out, and with fuel costs, the total cost of that trip ended up being $2,669. If the folks drove from Wisconsin, the cost of their trip would be substantially less. It would be $1,593. And since they were driving, I had to add 2 days of lodging and meals on for them. The result was that I came up with a cost savings of about $1,100 if using a travel trailer like mine when airfare is the comparison. But when we use the non-travel vacation based on driving, well, they save $447 over the cost of the travel trailer vacation. So what does that mean? Well, they saved money more than you're going to save with your travel trailer if there's only two people. So the next thing I did is I threw two children into the mix like they do. If you add two children into the mix, it's about $300 cheaper to travel in the RV. But, you know, there really is more to this story than just looking at the trip for 1 week. So what do we also have to consider? Well, if you factor in an RV payment, storage costs, and RV insurance, those are the kind of numbers and costs that are going to change things drastically in favor of the non-RV trip. Those costs never change after that week in Orlando. So I'm going to guess that storage is going to run you $100 a month. And I think that's pretty conservative depending on where you're at, unless you can park it on site like I do. Now add your RV payment, which could be anywhere from $225 a month on up. And then you have your monthly insurance, which I'm sure will probably cost at least $100 a month. So once you add all those into the equation, just for that month, it may still look just slightly rosy for the RV owner, with a savings around $175 for that week in Orlando over the vacation when compared only to flights. However, as I mentioned, those RV payments don't stop when the vacation's over. Now, I don't say any of this to dissuade you from an RV purchase. Just keep in mind that everything the RV industry puts out there is not 100% truthful. In fact, the study that the RVIA put together factored a bunch of extraneous stuff into their footnotes, such as estimated cost of RV ownership is based upon published data regarding average ownership periods, residual values, annual days of use, insurance, and other costs of ownership, as well as any applicable tax benefits, which I assume they mean if you're able to write it off as a second home. Now, that whole group of footnotes reads surprisingly like the warnings at the end of the drug commercials: may cause drowsiness and loose stools. So those numbers are skewed, in my opinion. How would anyone be able to factor in all those things to come up with a weekly trip cost? RVing is a great way to see the country, but it's not cheap. So don't enter into it thinking that in some way you'll be saving money, because believe me, you're not. In fact, you're going to be spending additional money each year on maintenance items like your wheel bearings and anything else that comes up that costs money. So just go in with your eyes wide open, and you'll be happy if you're prepared for the RV life, knowing that this is a hobby that's expensive. So RVs are like any other hobby, and sometimes it's best not to try and justify the cost of it, but just to enjoy the hobby. Until next time, happy camping.